Perfect. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I have a very unique, special guest that I've been so excited to get on with us. It's Kathleen Black with Kathleen Black Coaching and Consulting. And there's a lot of coaching companies out there in the real estate world. She has a really unique angle where she really focuses on teams. And that's one of and helping you establish a team. And that's what we're going to cover today is we're going to show you and share with you the ideas on leveraging and growing a real estate team. So, Kathleen, can you explain two of the main events that you have coming up and different ways people can get enrolled with you? And then we'll share your screen and go deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. So our biggest event of the year is Ultimate Team Summit. And Ultimate Team Summit is really fun for a couple of reasons. You can bring anyone on your team, like admin, ISA, salespeople. That's in November. It's in Niagara Falls, Ontario. You can connect with us at www.ittakesa.team. So ittakesa.team to see our events. Our other big event is in June, and that'll be in Taboo in Muskoka in Ontario as well. And that is for team leaders who sell 100 homes or more per year, or rising stars apply to come as well. So that's the ultimate 100 deal plus mastermind, which again, super fun because you're in a room with, all 100 plus team leaders and achievers, and some are selling, 200, 300, 400, 600 and plus homes per year. So it's a great room to get into. If you're really looking to build your team, maybe apply as a rising star. And same website, ittakesa.team.
Absolutely. I actually just typed out that link. So we can copy that in the notes and we'll put it on the YouTube video too so that people can easily click. That's awesome. It's really important for you to kind of connect with other people that are on the same page with you. So if you're doing 6 deals a year and you want to get to 20 deals a year, you should probably be hanging out with people that are at that level and asking them the questions. So if you can get in the mix with people that are doing like 100 plus deals a year, then that's good. Okay, so I want to let you share your screen if you can, and we'll have an open conversation about teams. While she's doing that, I want to explain my perspective and benefit of a team. When I first got into real estate, I only wanted to wear one hat. I felt extremely young and vulnerable. I didn't feel confident and comfortable writing contracts. So all I wanted to do was the fun part that I found was fun, which was generating leads and then giving them to other people on a referral. So when you're a team, you actually can pick and choose the hats that you want to wear best. Some people really only want to work with buyers. And I know a lot of people really only want to work with sellers. Some of you just want to be the rainmaker. Some of you just want to be the manager. So running a real estate business is challenging at the beginning. So I'm hoping, Kathleen, we can just inspire some people in that direction.
Well, yeah, it can be challenging at the beginning, and there's certain phases that are in team building, and there's certain phases that can be a little bit messier for sure. So background on us, we do specialize in teams that's our niche, but we also do support individual agents as well and brokerages, things like that. So we'll jump right into it. But at this point, it's been about almost 10 years full time for most of them. Like I'd say at least 8.5, almost 9 years of full time coaching team development. So it gives us a lot of insight. So we'll start off with just a definition. Like our goal is to always model excellence. So when we're looking to bring, team resources, team systems, our goal isn't to bring the average of what's out there. And some would say, well, why not? That's the predominant of what's happening. And the reason we don't do that is I'm a big believer in model the best, right? If you model the best and what's working, they're always setting the benchmark for the most efficient. So that's what this definition comes from. So a high performing team, not just a team, a high performing team is an interdependent, stable, role-defined group of individuals who share responsibility, mutual trust, and values while having a strong leadership and a clear focus on a common goal. So there's a lot more that goes into an actual synergized team, like that idea of that well-oiled machine, moving forward together. Whereas it's become really common to have, partnerships or to have groups in real estate, and there's nothing good or bad against them. It's just we're modeling teams that can be really efficient, grow and profitable and successful for everyone on the team, not just the team leader. So that's the definition that we work with.
That's a really well-written definition. I like the role-defined group of individuals who share responsibility. That's cool.
Yeah, so we're not trying to duplicate, which is harder said than done, but we're trying not to do that for sure. So I wanted to start out with some of the myths, because there's so many myths about building teams, about how teams efficiently run. So I usually have 3. I brought 5 for you guys, because every time I do the 3, I'm like, there's 2 others that are so big. So I've added them today for us to talk about, and then we'll go into kind of some more of the core places to look at to build. And again, we'll see how much content we get through. Full disclosure, I probably brought a bit more than I need, knowing that if we don't cover everything, if you email our admin, we'll send you a copy of PDF of the slides. So it's just admin@kathleenspeaks.com if anybody wants to know, and I'll repeat it again after for sure. So first myth are that teams take too much time and money to develop. The reality is that the function of a team is to provide us more time, more money, less expenses, and less effort put in by the team leader. So in fact, when done properly and effectively and systematically, creating and running a team is highly profitable, and it's going to free up time for all team members, including you. So there's kind of 2 sides of this. I mean, when we look at the success rate for, partnerships or teams, it really is a large percentage who are not successful. This is absolutely true. Like, we work with people who have tried to build a team 2 and 3 times. The right systems, the right tools deliver results. The majority of the systems and tools either don't deliver results, or when you try to plug them in with the other systems and tools you need on your team, they don't fit. So I say building a team is like a puzzle. You need all the puzzle pieces, but one of the biggest mistakes is, okay, I'm going to get one puzzle piece from here, one from here. In some areas, that's okay. Like, for example, you might have been like, I don't know, just like you might have built your business on Buffini, right? Repeat and referral, or whoever else. I'm just giving you an example. Repeat and referral. So you really love those systems. That's great. That will probably work well when you start to bring in, conversion for colder lead sources that you might need as your team expands. But if you're trying to run, one type of a database and it doesn't function with your database plans, and you can't give activities to different people on the teams, those puzzle pieces are not going to click, and it's actually going to wreak havoc. Or you're trying to give leads and appointments to agents who are running different systems, and now we can't support people. We don't know why one agent, is doing 4 deals a month, and we've got 5 other agents doing like 1 and struggling to do anything. It makes it really difficult. So we're not looking for just the puzzle pieces. They have to actually click together. We need a one, unified system, so to speak. So when done right with the right tools, we're going to make more money. We're going to have less time. We're going to have less effort. We'll be more efficient, and not just for the team leader, for everyone on the team. And I think that that's really important. Considers everybody, right? Okay, cool. So second myth is that we have a career in real estate. And this is a hard one. I think anybody who's looking to leverage, when you look at eMyth, you look at Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I mean, there's hundreds that we could name off. They're all trying to nurture the mindset of business owner, that understanding that as soon as you get away from the idea of exchange of what I earn hourly and get to an idea of actual profits and expansion, that's where you can build a really solid business. And it's the exact same thing in real estate. We're trying to nurture this mindset on our online training all the time. It's our foundation for team expansion. Because if we don't have the mindset of business expansion and we're still stuck in the idea of, okay, but it's a job, like I'm exchanging my time for money, that's our biggest cap. We really can't expand until the mindset's in place. So the truth is, you operate a business or you have a job. Most realtors don't realize they only have a job which stops paying them when you stop working. The firm decision to operate a business is to decide to build something that pays you dividends or pays you, is profitable over and above being paid for your particular role in the business. So one of the real cornerstones of expansion is that myth of, hey, yeah, it's a job or it's a business, right? It's one or the other, and expansion only really happens in one of those 2 categories.
It's a funny industry that people retire to get into real estate. So they retire from something else, get into real estate. Not a lot of people, once they get into real estate, can step away from it. Like, you're either on the treadmill or you're not. And so having it as a true business means that you can go on vacation for a month or go to seminars across the country and come back and still have the operations flowing.
Absolutely. And I think it's a progression. I mean, I know all the time, like coaching people looking to build teams or have teams, how often do we have to go back to, okay, wait, how much do you make per year? How many hours are you working? How many hours are you doing home inspections? How many hours are you doing revisits? How many hours are you dropping lock boxes? How many hours are you doing admin? Okay, what's your hourly rate worth? Because to get to that place of business owner, we have to really understand the value of each of the job descriptions in our business. And instantly when we start to calculate it that way, it's phenomenal to me how many people go, well, wait a minute, like I can't work any more hours. I'm capped. Like I don't have a choice. And they feel like, okay, I'm done. Like I can't. It's like, no, well, which piece can we leverage first? And then the next piece. And then all of a sudden we're morphing into that business owner mindset, which is, very, very exciting when I get to see that. It's fantastic. So
a good tip for people is create a journal, and basically anything that makes you cringe or hate your job, write that down on a piece of paper, because then ultimately it's not a good fit for you and your personality.
Yeah, absolutely. We do, what is it? Excellent, good. No, I'm missing one. Excellent, great, good, and poor, as in I'm really bad at it and I know like I suck at this, like you said, and it's actually such a good tip because it's where you delegate first. And it's a really powerful thing to eventually get up to, okay, wait, like I have to delegate the good, and then I have to delegate the great, and then eventually I'm operating excellent, which is where my value exchange is, right? Yeah. And
for baby steps, when I create that journal and I'm writing out all the things that I'm poor at or don't like, then any of it that's repeatable, either weekly or monthly, you can outsource that to somebody even part-time. And that's a good step.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge step. So myth number 3, the agents I hire want to work for me. And this one I really like at conferences to say, hey, guess what? Like the agents on your team, they don't want to work for you. And you see the team leaders like, oh, I don't mean it that way. I mean, they want to work for themselves, right? They want to build their best business, and they're going to work with you because you're truly offering them value in a multiple ways, value in security, value in opportunities, and value in compensation. You're offering them those 3 things in a superior fashion than they could do on their own, or than they could do even under the brokerage umbrella. And that's not a knock at brokerages whatsoever. It's a call to action for teams of saying, hey, if you want to offer value and you want to be able to be profitable and offer services, we truly need to make sure we're upping our game and delivering on our promises and offering a platform that is better for the individual agent. Because if not, why would they want to work on your team? So we do a lot of work with brainstorming that. And again, most teams have far more to offer than they even realize it. When they start brainstorming it, it's crazy how much we take for granted that we forget all the hours it took to put, our checklist in place, our database, like all those different people we leverage, our marketing systems. At the time we worked hard to put it in place, but now we take it for granted, right?
Creating it all from scratch, man, it takes time, and it's a never-ending process because you're always revising things and always updating. So
Yeah, absolutely. So the reality is all real estate agents were attracted to the industry because they did not want to be employees. This is the real estate dream. If you take away the real estate dream, your team members will not stay long. Allow them and help them to build their business inside yours, and you will keep them forever. And this, one of the biggest other myths that I don't have here today, but in real estate teams is that, oh my goodness, if people are leaving the team, something's wrong with the team, right? It's a bad team. It's bad leadership. Nothing could be further from the truth. As a business evolves, you're going to have different expectations. You're going to have different skill sets. You're going to need different levels of expertise. I'm sure we've all experienced this. Right now in my business, we're looking to outsource a much higher level of expertise with marketing because we've hit our cap inside. And we need to take people who are truly experts in that field. But for other years, we had some people come in and out because they could offer things that we needed at the time. So with a business, as you evolve, as you become a better team leader, as your culture changes, it's going to shift, and the energy will push some people out. It'll attract some people to you. So I've never known a team in all these hours of coaching or years of coaching who have never lost somebody or lost somebody with a certain percentage every year, which are phenomenal teams and offer a huge amount to the people on them. So I think it's a great reminder that great leaders build leaders. And, we've had people here leave and work on marketing techniques that now are running their own future business for themselves. And I look at that, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like that person took that, they helped us, and they were able to do something for themselves. That tells me that there is value being offered in the environment, right?
Absolutely. There's a book called The Dream Manager. Definitely anybody listening to that, read The Dream Manager. It's about a janitorial company. They have a high turnover rate, 300-400 plus turnover, because nobody likes cleaning toilets. And they hire a girl whose main role is to establish what their goals are, buying a car, buying a home, going to school, and then she helps them actually get out of the business that they're in and start their own business. And that's a fictitious book, but a lot of companies are doing it now where, like, I use Infusionsoft as a software, and I think they have 2 or 3 dream managers whose full-time role is to take their employees and get them out of the company.
Excellent. Yeah, we use it still too. Wow, that is phenomenal. I mean, I think in a great real estate team now, we have team within team, and we have so many where people can grow within it, but it's not for everybody, right? Sometimes we evolve and we have dreams and they're outside of where we are currently. I love that. I'm going to have to get that book title from you, Danny. I haven't read that one. That sounds great.
We'll put that in the notes. We'll put that for everyone.
Okay, cool. Myth number 4, if I pay my team members more, I'm a better team leader. Or I'm being more fair. That's the other word that comes up with this a lot. I want to make sure I'm fair. And the biggest caution I can give, it's not fair to build a business that's unstable, that can't reinvest in opportunities for your team members and is not going to allow them to grow and thrive. That's not fair. So sometimes team leaders are thinking, well, I want to pay, a certain split, whatever it is. I'm not here, if there's questions, great, but I'm not here necessarily to focus on that today. But whether it's, a 40% split, a 25% split, an 80% split, the idea is that if we don't have enough in those 3 areas for our team member, which again is compensation, security, and opportunity. If we don't have those 3 entities, that's actually when we lose people. There's massive amounts of research for this of when people actually leave a business or when people leave a team. And it's not who are paid the most necessarily who are going to stay with you. So when you study who stays, it's the people who are paid fairly for what they do, but they're also given security. So they know there's going to be a paycheck tomorrow. They have other work-life incentives, right? Like maybe they can go on holiday and they know something's covered for their business, or they know if they're sick, something's covered. And they have opportunities. They know that as the business grows, there's a place for them to go there. Those are the 3 ingredients that people are looking for. So the idea that if we pay more, but now I don't have enough in reserves to have any type of training, or I'm not making enough money as a team leader to take the extra time to encourage my people or answer questions. So it starts to feel like babysitting. So it's like, I'm not making enough money to do this. I'm making more money selling. Or you want to be a team leader who eventually doesn't sell, but all of a sudden you hit that day where you realize, wow, I've set myself up in a position where it costs me too much to hand my business over to my team members. So I've actually created my own little prison cell, so to speak. I'm not prisoned in that way, but prison cell because you want to move on to not be selling, and you actually can't. You're trapped. And that's where you have to make some major changes in compensation. And you might lose some people. We've helped big teams transition compensation structures many, many times, but it's delicate, and
that'd be a hard one.
It's a long-term process. Like sometimes it's 8, 9, 10 months of, what are we bringing on to the table? What opportunities are we giving? What training are we giving? It's definitely strategic. That's for sure. Yeah. So if I pay my team members more, I'm a better team leader. The truth is that the team leader's purpose is to offer value, not to offer the best split. So what is the net value at the end of the year that you're being offered for being in that team environment? Values communicated in terms of systems, support, and abundance of leads, appointments, education and training, and opportunities for growth. So net money means that your agents buy into the bigger picture of more leads, more deals, more support, and more systems, ultimately leading to much more money for all. So the idea isn't how do we pay more per deal? The idea is how do we take more off your plate? So Danny, what you were just saying about, hey, put the things that you suck at or that you hate, that make you cringe, whichever way you want to look at it, whichever way you're motivated, but put them there. That's what a great team does. They say, okay, now you're up to this level of production. Instead of paying you more per deal, what we're going to do is we're going to take some of those licensed or maybe unlicensed activities, depending on the team environment. We're going to take them off your plate and we're going to cover them. So now you have more time to do more deals, or you have more time just for lifestyle, right? To like have time at home or have time with your kids or travel, whatever it is. And that's the idea of leverage. And some of our teams on top of that will do even a graduating scale. So the people on the teams who sell more make more per deal, because our system often is a flat rate process, and then with bonuses and some splits and a whole makeup. And then there's bonuses for the 5th deal month, 6th deal month, things like that. So this, yeah, it's kind of cool how it works out actually. So this is, one of the big myths that if we pay more, we have a better team. It's a more solid structure. That is not true. I can tell you for sure, we have the ranges for the top teams in Canada that have come up and used our systems in our network. And we have the ranges if they use a split or if they're flat fee. But split, it's more applicable across the country. And I can tell you, I mean, there's not one single team in that portfolio, so to speak, I guess, list, whatever. There's not one single team who's paying 50-50 across the board who are in that top, unless they're running like a brokerage style team, right? It's more like loose and they're not offering as much value. Okay?
Wow, that's interesting. So this model works in Canada and the US, and this is a good time for you to say the email. Can you say the email? Because I know some people are going to want more information on like what those structures look like. So what's your email for people to get your...
Yeah, the email to get these slides or to set up to ask us any questions is admin, ADMIN, at KathleenSpeaks.com. So Kathleen Speaks with an S.com. Yeah.
And I'll ask you again at the end, and then Shihab will add those to notes. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, and if I forget, I have a promo code for you guys for Summit too, but if you email us, we'll send it to you as well. Okay. Okay, cool. And big myth, and this one, I'm so happy that this one is finally getting a lot more, what do you call it? I'm forgetting my language today. Like I speak English, I don't know these words. Is getting a lot more exposure. That's what I'm looking for. The idea that teams are profitable is a massive myth. It's unfortunate, but it really is. There is an unbelievable amount of partnerships or teams that are not run profitably at all. You can say what you want. You can say it's for ego. I don't think that's always true. Like some of those teams where it's not profitable, the team leader is leveraging off lots of tasks. So their lifestyle's better, right? Because they have an admin and they have support and they have other things, but the team itself is not making profit. And this is a problem if you want to expand. So, I always, when I teach inbound calling, like if somebody calls us on realtor.ca, emails usually, request on email.ca, or if you still get, print advertising inquiries or maybe perhaps sign calls, I always explain it this way. I'm like, there's a lot that we do for community initiatives. I really believe in it. I give to various charities. We give to entrepreneurship, young people with our business. It's a big thing for me. But when it comes to real estate, if you're calling about my personal listing, that is not my volunteer area of choice. That's not where I'm donating my time. That's my business. So if I'm going to create a team, it makes sense that I should actually be making money for being a team leader. Now, you might not in the first year. You might not even in the second year. But if your model is set up to be profitable, mid-second year, third year, it should be. There should be some extra residual coming back, at least to pay you for your time of being a team leader. And if it's not, I can tell you, it's going to get old really, really fast. It's very difficult. So a healthy commission, so most teams are not profitable. A healthy commission structure must consider three main entities. So it has to make money for the team member, absolutely. Has to make money for you, I'm assuming on this, the team leader or a team member, and profits for the sustainability and growth of the team as a whole. So your reserves, your marketing, your admin, your support staff, you're going to conference, continuing education, all of that great stuff. There's probably lists and lists that we know could go in that box. And all three of these entities must be considered for there to be a win-win. Profits are arguably the most important here. They're also the most neglected. Profits are essential to ensure that we reinvest in the business, continue to grow, and offer some shelter in slower times. And this is really important. Like, I don't know how many people on here are GTA. Like, I'm situated originally where Danny was from, like just east of the Toronto area, but we have clients all throughout North America. But for our clients in Toronto, when the market changed, it was really interesting to watch what happened. It was really interesting to watch the teams that had strong systems, the ability to pivot and go back towards buyer, as well as having the system to nurture sellers where their listings were going to be on the market a lot longer. And it was amazing to watch the business models that right away had to adjust because they couldn't survive in the changed market. They didn't have the extra reserves to be able to get them through and shelter the business. And their model was going to cost them exponentially more than they could afford to. So it really showed, who was set up. And for some people, it was great because it was a wake-up call and they made changes, which, hey, I've been there. We've probably all been there as business owners. So let's be clear. If the business does not survive, thrive, and grow, It doesn't matter how much the team leader makes or what the agent split is. So end of the day, I mean, we can pay the team leader nothing, we can pay the agent, a huge amount, but if the business isn't thriving, if you're not set up for success, it's not going to pan out in the long run anyways.
Yeah.
Sure.
One of my big whys on the whole team thing is just the whole lifestyle and sustainability of, because real estate is so demanding. It is like a 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. type of job where you're working around the clock. You don't have weekends. Like I know a lot of mega team leaders that are, and it's not bad, but they're still doing open houses on the weekend, and they're like 40-year vets. And I'm like, man, it's such a challenging business. And if you can have the scalability of collective buying power, so you're buying one CRM for everybody versus everybody on their own buying their own CRMs, there's like a whole lot of advantages to teams. And I think one of the big ones for a lot of people, if it isn't financial, it is the whole lifestyle and sustainability of you live one life.
Yeah, it's a huge percentage of our strategy or our consult calls are exactly that. Like I've had some of our most successful teams to build with us. Our initial consult call or our first call in coaching was exactly like that. Them saying, you know what, I don't care if we make a single dollar extra. I'd even be okay taking a little bit of a hit, but I need to be able to have a life. Like I need to be able to go on vacation and not have my phone. I need to have one night a week where I can have dinner with my family, right? Like they were literally at the point where they were thinking of leaving the business. Several people. And you're talking about some of the most successful, like if you knew the names, you're like, oh my gosh, so successful, but it wasn't sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So we've talked about some of the myths, and I want to go into what the truth of it is. And again, thinking that we're modeling, the top achievers in this. And I brought these stats on purpose. Yes, I know they're not this year's or last year's, but you'll see why I'm bringing this. It's to show a transition. So we know in 2016, we had 89% selling 12 homes or less in the Toronto Real Estate Board. Last year, we were somewhere, I think it was around 82% selling 4 homes or less. And the Toronto Real Estate Board, we are over 52,000 agents now, so extremely competitive. When I went to Manhattan and trained there, I was like, okay, oh my gosh, like this is going to be so cutthroat. We actually have more competition in Toronto by way of agents in the area than they have there on the island. So that was an interesting wake-up call. So at that time, we had 49 teams selling 100 homes or more. But between 2012 to 2016, which is what we're going to talk about next, we had a massive transition. And this is what I love to see, to show, because it's important to see it. So in that 4-year span, we had sales go up 18%, but the number of agents went up 35%. So we had a massive amount of extra competition, essentially, for the deals that are out there. The 100 plus teams actually went down. So they went down by 6%, but we saw our 200 deal plus teams double in that time. So it's really interesting. In the last year, it's shifting again a little bit because a lot of people are learning and they're partnering up. So they're partnering up, to be able to put their numbers and their statistics together. But one of the big reasons in that time for that doubling of the 200 plus is you saw these teams that were building a foundation doing massive expansion, like just exploding with their resources. So it was a really big change. And I think it's just showing what's going to happen more and more. The people who have built those systems and they're strong, they're able to expand, they're going into multi-location now. So team is really becoming that next frontier of doing real estate for some independently, some underneath a brokerage brand. But it's doing, I think it was the Swanee Pool report was talking about, the future with brokerages will be the successful ones will have much more controls. They'll have minimum standards, which is hard. How do you do that in an industry that's built for entrepreneurs and people who want to build out their own platforms, their own business? And that's where Team has a really amazing niche, because they have the systems, they have the minimum standards, they have the quality control to be able to invest heavily in certain marketing sources and know the formula to get a return. And that's a really powerful thing as some of these teams are expanding. So, some of them are massive now. We have teams doing 1,000 deals and more, right? In Canada, pretty phenomenal. So the modern elite agent, definitely entrepreneur, they're a business owner, and they're visionary. And I think that's really different from the image, at least I had when I got my real estate license, and the image when I talk to most agents. It's still usually that image of, local person, building with friends and family and kind of repeat referral. But what we know is that the more technology moves forward, the more the people leveraging technology and leveraging online lead generation and understanding the psychology of it, they're getting ahead to talk to people well before the repeat referral stage even happens. So more and more, we're seeing kind of a diminish for some people from those systems and a changeover. So the elite agent is really a different, I'd say different, like a hybrid, right, of what we originally thought of with an agent, for sure.
Oh, as a team, you kind of have to be a hybrid because there's sources from so many different sources of business from so many different avenues. So you can't just rely on one.
No, yeah, it's essential that you have, usually 3 good top sources. A lot of teams don't have money like people think, but yeah. So a quote here, because I think it's really in tune with team. Without commitment, you cannot have depth in anything, whether it's a relationship, a busy business, or hobby. To build a team, it is a commitment. It is an idea of entrepreneurship. Like you are building, and there's certain years where I call it, it's a pinch, like because you have to still maintain your sales production and for example, you're recruiting and you need to train the recruit and you need to shadow them and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm doing more work than ever. And that's what we call the messy stage. And a lot of teams get stuck there because they realize they have to push through. So there's okay, I just keep trying to support these agents. And that's where a lot of team leaders throw their hands up in the air and there's okay, whatever. I'm here, that's great. You can work with us, but I'm going to focus on my main sales and we'll still have our marketing and have our hub, but we're not really going to expand beyond that because those are difficult phases to go through. That's for sure.
Will your slides, and if they don't, can you cover what that progression looks like? I'm going to assume and say that it's probably your admin, buyer agent, and then can you kind of show us what that tree looks like? You might even have it coming up. So if you do, we'll just wait.
Yep, I do have it. I do. I added it knowing it would probably mean I couldn't cover all my content, but I thought it would be valuable today, so I do have it.
Cool. Okay, cool.
Okay. Awesome. So 5 values overall for success. Obviously, we're talking about team. So, leadership is massive. Working on your business as a team leader, it's going to allow you to multiply your sales productivity, tenfold by leveraging other people's strengths. And this is really the idea with team. We can expand our own business, but when you expand into team and you do it well, it's exponential growth. It can't touch anything that you're going to do on your own. Now, that being said, is being a team leader and that leadership side for everybody? No, you need to do your own self-inventory. I personally really love to challenge myself. I really love to grow. I love to put myself in situations where I have to do something more and I have to expand. That's just part of who I am. I enjoy that. So if entrepreneurship and building a team, it's 80% mindset and 20% the systems, the tools. So if you're in a position where you're not willing to take risks, you're not willing to make extra investments, you're not willing to kind of stand up and lead that ship, that might be hard for you to build a team. That being said, there's people with all personality styles who are great team leaders. They just do it differently. So it's your own personal assessment if a team is great for you or not. I think personally, I would be bored if it was just me coaching all day. I would probably make, just as much or more money right now. But in the future, first of all, I'd be bored. I wouldn't have challenge. So that's part of my personality. So it fits me to expand my business. And for those of you watching, if that's your style, then a team's probably a great fit for you. You can get so much more done with a team of people versus individually. And if there's one thing I've seen with powerful people, they set goals that require more than themselves. So all powerful people I've ever talked to, they set goals that are far beyond themselves, that require a team of or multiple people for them to achieve. So this is, I'm not going to go through all points of this. You'll get this after, but this is a slide that's giving you all the entities that's going to help you come up with a business value. So for some of us as individual agents, you might look at this and be like, okay, this isn't even touching the radar. So you might be looking at, selling your book one day or referring off to another agent if you're looking to retire. But for a team, it's really specific because it's a business. So I'll name the things off. Unless there's questions, I won't dive super deep because it's its own full presentation. But number 1 is the IP, so intellectual property. What are our systems, Are they duplicatable? Are they on paper? Do we have step-by-step instructions? Do we almost have our own language as a team that creates our values, our beliefs, and our culture? Because those systems and checklists are going to be perceived by certain beliefs. And that's the part that we're actually training the most, right? How do we be in our environment? How do we be consultants? How do we communicate effectively with our clients? How do we present value? And what are the tools that we use to do that at every single step in the process? And this is number one. It's also where people can get stuck. Because when you're selling, I always say everything I did to be successful as a top producer, I was in the fast lane. So in the fast lane, it's like I want to delegate as much as I can and I just want to sell. When I'm looking to expand into a team, all of a sudden the main work I need to do to expand my business is it feels stationary. It's like, okay, wait, like I've got to slow down and write a list of every single step I do, when I work with a buyer, and every single step I do when I work with a seller, including the admin aspects and the marketing aspects and any client experience aspects, client support, and the sales aspects. So we can leverage all that out. And when you first do it, I know for a lot of people, it can feel painful, right? Because that's so slow. And all of a sudden you're doing business strategy and you're doing, marketing schedules instead of just doing it yourself, which sometimes feels faster. But those steps are what's going to allow you to expand. So that's our IP, our systems duplication, our operation structure, our compensation. How are we compensating our team members? Is our brand neutral? So even if it's our name, do people think of it as more than us? Right? When they call you, if somebody else were to pick up the phone or in your neighborhood, do they think of you as a business? And, when you think of, I was about to say the worst example ever, I have children. I don't like Chuck E. Cheese very much. And I almost was like, my head, it was like, example, you go to Chuck E. Cheese, you don't expect Chuck E. Cheese to be there. I'm like, no, I don't think Chuck E. Cheese exists. Really bad example. But point being, so you go to Wayne Gretzky's restaurant or Wayne Gretzky's winery, you don't expect Wayne Gretzky to be there, right? So it's the exact same thing. Tim Hortons, we don't expect him to be there. So you don't, or the present recent owner before it was sold. So the idea is their mind share thinking about you in the community? And is it seen or perceived that it's more than just your handshake, you personally? Driver, manager, operator. If you haven't read E-Myth and you're building a team, highly recommend you do. Great book. There's 3 different styles. One is our entrepreneur, our driver. One's our manager, our efficiency expert, watching the bottom line. And one's our operator, right? Out selling, doing deals, getting things done. So you need all 3 entities and you need to know which one you are so that you can align yourself with the other 2. And it might be a broker manager who supports you, a broker owner. It might be a coach. It might be a business partner. It might be you're big enough to bring on another team leader or bring on a team manager.
Going back to the team and the way people perceive you, here's a thought for some people. When I was doing internet leads, I would be working them to an appointment. Once they were ready to hop in a car, they fully expected the Dan Wood show. And then I as soon as I knew they were ready to go in the car, I'd be like, oh, I want to set you up with Becky. She's our buyer agent. She's a specialist in that area. And she's going to serve you way better than I possibly can. We work as a team. She's an extension of me. So I'm going to set you up with her. And I would do the same thing for the selling agent. I would do it like where I'm always deferring away from me. So even though at the beginning they thought the Dan Wood show, at the end of the day, I never had an issue hooking them up with somebody else other than me.
Yeah. And it's hard. I know sometimes at events, people will say, well, it's an ego thing. They think you need them. I don't think it's only an ego thing. I think sometimes we just want to make sure people are taken care of. Right. Mm-hmm. And if we make sure we have another way to make sure people are taken care of, we feel good about it. And it's a little bit easier to make that transition. So driver, operator, manager, and then database, is our database, are we enriching it? Is it accurate? How big is it? Is it tagged and identified so we can use it and reach the right people when we need to? Are our team members able to be all on one database? And again, can we have plans where we assign different people for different activities all within that one database, and calendars and see multiple calendars and whatnot? So we have some extra demands as a team when it comes to database and being able to transfer that into business value. And then sweat equity, one of the backbones of real estate investment for some people when they're starting out. I know it was for me. Sweat equity is definitely not your friend when it comes to business valuation, which means anything that I'm doing in the business, if I'm not paying myself for it, anyone else who buys the business would have to pay somebody to do my role, right? Or they're going to do it themselves. But when they evaluate the business, that's not how they're going to look at it, because they're going to know what we just talked about. Hey, as a team leader, you should be making something for doing that role, because a true business owner or investor is not necessarily running any function in the business. So it's really important that they say, hey, if you're running that role, you should be making money for it. If you're not, it's actually sweat equity. You're not taking money to make this business run, and the profitability margins aren't really accurate. And that's another big, I should have talked about it. I'm sorry, I'm jumping, but it's on this topic. I should have talked about with the myths of profit. People start to talk about their profit ranges, and they do it all the time with teams. And I'm at team events all the time and panels and whatnot. And it's amazing to hear people say, well, yeah, I have a 30% profit margin, or I have a 40% profit margin. I heard somebody once say, oh, I have 50% profit margin, after you're paying all your expenses, your marketing, all your overhead. Remember, we all know this when it comes to, commission and things like that. We want to compare apples to apples. If somebody's not paying themselves as a team leader, or they're not paying themselves, their full sales portion or the same as team members, their numbers are really skewed. So if you're not paying yourself as a team leader, you're telling me that your profit margin is 50%, but really, for example, maybe it should be like, I don't know, 35%. Who knows? I don't know how much they're taking as a team leader. Depends how big the team is, right? But the numbers are skewed. So they're not actually accurate. Yeah. And profit and residual income. Obviously, our profit percentage is important. And finally, that's where we come up with our business value. What's somebody willing to pay? And the multiplier is not set. Like the US has much more of a precedent for team sales than we do here in Canada. So it'll be interesting as it's coming over, but we don't have one set multiplier. What we educate our people on are going much more in depth into each one of these areas, so they understand exactly how to build their business, so that if they want to sell it one day, they can. And with teams expanding multi-location, if you have a well-organized, well-set business, like it'll only be a matter of time within some of the teams so built with our systems, where someone looking to expand will be like, yeah, you're already all set up. You already run all the systems we do here, and we want to expand into other locations. So it'll be a really advantageous time for people who are doing multiple city teams, right?
Well, the time to build a team is now, because it's an aging industry. So a lot of people are going to be selling their team. A lot of people are going to be selling the brokerages. There's going to be a huge amount of business and databases being transferred over from one group to another and rebranding. And so I think now is the perfect time, because I think we're going to see an explosion in the 5 to 10 year mark. There's going to be so many conversions happening amongst teams and brokerages. It's going to be like one of the biggest topics in the trade journals for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's amazing, because it was a great time to build a team like 7 years ago, but it still is.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, cool. So I know that's a lot, but this is our reverse engineering, right? Build a team with the end in mind. And this is a lot more than most people are thinking about when they initially build, which is why they put systems in place that cap them later, and then they're stuck. So our goal is, hey, if we educate our clients on what it's going to look like at the end, you can choose when you build from an educated position, right? Which is great. Second top value for team success is performance. Success comes down to clarity of thinking and wanting to grow without avoidable mistakes and unnecessary risk. We are 100%, I believe, in a time of IP or a wisdom era. It's the time where we can purchase what works from other people. That's why coaching industries are huge. And the idea of building a team in the amount of time on your own, in the amount of time that a team that's plugging into existing systems would, it's not possible. It's not as if it's like, well, maybe it's not. Even if you came from another industry, the time it's going to take you to duplicate it and rebuild it within their real estate industry is massive compared to having the tools plug and play. I always say, listen, model your way all the way up to the top of the mountain. Once you're at the top of the mountain, you're at the top. You can see over the horizon, build your vision. But the idea of, hey, I have this huge vision and I'm going to start from scratch, even though there's like thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people who have already done steps 1 to 100. Well, I'm failing before I even start. That's not the era that we're in. We're in an era of immersion and of mastery, and mastery comes from repetition, and repetition comes from knowing my outcomes. If I don't know my outcome, I don't know what to say. I can't practice it perfectly and get that powerful, right? Which is what we need. So we spend a lot of time with that in our sales systems. This is what Danny, you were getting into. So some of the steps I won't go into as because there's multiple. Like we have, I think it's 9 different steps in our expansion for teams. So this is obviously single agent, right? We're doing everything ourselves. I think most of us know what that's like. So we're wearing all hats, and there's no way, I've never met yet somebody who has the ability to have a personality where they're really good or great at all of these things, let alone excellent. We know that story. It's an old one, right? Step 2 is where we start to leverage. And Danny, this is what you're saying, like what's first. And definitely in our model, it is that unlicensed assistant or administrator. If you're there's one exception here. If you're a really strong listing agent and you're kind of like a lone wolf, you're like, okay, like I just want to be able to do, like I can kill it. Like you're very systematic, you're doing high numbers. You might bring in a licensed client care first. There's pros and cons to that. The pros are it can expand your personal business huge very quickly. They come with you to appointments, they're going to measurements, you're going to do all the paperwork, they're going to make sure all the marketing goes out. Like they're going to be talking, communicating with the sellers, prepping them for absolutely every question they could have before they ask it. Licensed client care is amazing. Then you would get maybe a buyer's agent to take over the buyer side of the business. The cons are that's not really setting you up for expansion into a bigger team later because you don't have that main hub holding you. It's still the business kind of coming with you. So you still are the business, right? You're still trading a little bit, whereas you're going to see the next step is where we start to leverage out a little bit. So if you want a bigger team, you want to be able to sell less, you want to eventually do some training, kind of manage, oversee the team, lead the team, then you might want to go with an unlicensed assistant first. It's going to push you to make the true systems in your business. It's going to push you, like I said, to slow down and say, what are all these steps? Whereas a client care, you're going to expect them to jump in and kind of create it around you and follow you and just pick up all those pieces, which can be great. It's just not going to get you to the next step yet. It will later on.
This is a good screenshot. That was a good screenshot. So the recording later, people can freeze it. And then I would branch off and go deeper on each one, like a mind map. But yeah, that's a really good start right there.
Yeah, and I'll show, we won't talk about all of them because there's too many, but I mean, That's that next step. Once we have that admin in place, we have all the unlicensed activities. And the biggest risk is really only one of 2 things, and well, maybe 3, but the risk is if you don't have the systems and tools to train your admin on. So they come in and you don't know what, because the invitation, sorry, it's just telling me a Zoom message. Because you don't know exactly what you want your admin to do yet, that's really hard because they come in and they don't know exactly what to do. You don't have the training time. The other thing is it's only as much of a risk as you bring somebody on. If they're not a fit and you've trained them and you've done everything you can, it's okay to say, hey, this isn't working. I've had a lot of people bring on an admin and be like, it's not working, it's not good, I'm paying all this money. Well, your only risk is keeping them there. And if we've done everything we can to make it better, maybe it's just not the best fit. So our goal is to look at it and say, can I replace the hours that I'm doing admin with an administrator? What's their hourly rate? What's my hourly rate? Am I able to replace those hours with face-to-face time with clients? If you are, you're already losing money. Hiring admin is giving you an instant raise. You're already giving yourself a demotion by doing the admin side of it, even if you love it. And I know that's hard to hear. If you love it, but you're an excellent agent and you're turning people away, or you could turn the dial up and have more clients, you are demoting yourself in your business, income-wise at least, by not having an admin there. Instantly, if you get them in place and you have the systems, the checklists, the tools, the database plans, you have the protocols, and you can replace that time with face-to-face business, the admin is going to catapult your business. So it's not actually true that you're going to have this, 6 to 8 month like pullback. It's only if you're not doing it in an efficient manner. And this is where we get to recruit, right? Licensed field agents, we're actually expanding into a team. And our model is they do listing and buy, but buy your systems first.
Most agents don't know what their hourly rate is because they've never done the math. And I know it's a hard generalized question, but what is a typical agent's hourly rate? And I know it's all over the map because some based on deals, but do you guys have any numbers that you could spit out?
No, it's all over there. Like I have some people I've worked with who started with me who are already doing 100 deals on their own, right? And we're going, oh my gosh, like you have an admin, you're doing 100 deals, like we need to bring some agents in here. What's going on? So I mean, their hourly rate can be through the roof, right? Like it's simply all we literally do is just take here's one you can do with gross income or you can do it with net income, obviously. So you can take what you made last year before you paid off all your expenses and say, hey, this is what my hourly income is worth. Because keep in mind, as you expand your business, some of your expenses are static, right? So as you expand your business, you are the expenses are some of them staying at the same amount. So you are actually increasing your dollar rate even more. So that's why some people do gross income when they do hourly rate. So I don't know. I mean, I can calculate an example. Let me just see.
So it's like a real estate agent's hourly rate should be a couple $100, I'm assuming. I forget what ours was back in the day. But anyways, once you actually look at what your hourly rate is, and then you look at the things that you're doing, you're like, man, I shouldn't be installing that lockbox. And I shouldn't be doing these things. So once you have what your hourly rate is, then it makes it a lot easier for you to hire somebody else to do those things.
Well, and people don't often even if, okay, so let's say, and I'm just going to do something like, because I don't know the averages. Let's say that you're an agent, building on your own and you're making even $100,000 a year, right? So that's, you're making 100,000, you're working 40 hours a week, 50 weeks of the year. You're only making $50 an hour, right? So you can multiply that. If you're working working 40 hours a week, 50 weeks of the year, you're making 200,000, you're making $100 an hour. So when you think about that, I mean, again, if that's capping you. If you're working full time and you're still, and lots of realtors work more hours than that. I know that. I'm not being naive to it. Just to point out. But even if you're at that, if you're capped, and some people are making 100,000, they feel capped and they can't do those other things. It's like either invest in sales systems and processes where you're more efficient, or you're going to have to invest in leveraging some help, right? I would say for ours, we're much more likely, most of my agents who are getting capped are more like the 250, the 300, that's where we're hitting that spot. So they're more so at, $150 to $200 an hour, usually when I do it on a coaching call, right, to work it out. Yeah, so I mean, that's a big divide between an admin, where some places could still be $15, $20, $25 depending, right? Experience maybe more. So that's a big divide, big raise for you, instantly replacing that time. For sure. So I'll just quickly go through these. And again, we have no problem sending them out, but level 4, we're expanding into more agents. We have more admin who are going to support us. And we also have a lead conversion rep, which is an ISA, inside sales, who's just on the phone booking appointments to support our team members. So that when they start doing also more COI deals and they're kind of going, okay, I don't necessarily want to work those colder leads as much. We're going, okay, no, you have an appointment, show up, because a lot of people in real estate are a little bit reactive. We have that in our personality. So when an appointment's booked, it's like, okay, yeah, I got to go. Business is on the table. So it keeps people a little bit more consistent and busier and more productive. Step 5, big difference is we have a whole department now for our inside sales. We have a team manager to support our team leader, because our team leader is usually our driver. And by this point, we don't want them to rip down the whole team. So we need to offset them with a bit of efficiency. And we have more field agents and, again, a little bit more admin support as well. And step 6, this is where we're leveraging some more licensed and licensed tasks, unlicensed both, off of our field agents. So we have a leadership group that's going to do home inspections, revisits, take amendments, put sold signs up, lock boxes, do all of that to take it off their plate. For the people who are selling typically 4 homes or more on average every single month would get access to that. And step 7 is residual income. The team leader has moved out. They have another team leader actually running the business for them. They're not even there. And that team leader still has the manager. So essentially, they're now investor, business owner, and they're getting profits from that business after all of those other entities are considered. And level 8 is team within team. So it's, hey, how can we help our people grow and expand and keep them within the team umbrella, but have them making now some residual income because they have a lot of knowledge to share and expand.
It's very organic. You don't just sprint a marathon from day one. You got to kind of lace up your shoes and start stepping forward. So it's definitely a progression, and very few people, I don't know, most people can't just jump into a level 8 from day one, right? It's definitely a progression and a stage.
Yeah, and it's culture too. Like it's not just, okay, these people are going to show up. Like you need to be a cohesive unit, right? So yeah, it has to be a progression for sure. And I'm just watching sometime. This is a good one. Even if you never want to sell your business, this is also good because it helps you with profitability. And this is just if somebody was considering buying a team, how would they perceive risk? And I think a lot of people are kind of surprised with this because it's really risky to buy a business where the team leader is doing the majority of the business and a little bit is happening from the agent, because afterwards, if the team leader is the business, it's very difficult to retain it, right? Whereas we go down a little bit if it's team members, because if the team leader is not running it, it's a little bit less risky. Our risk really goes down when we start to incorporate our LCP, which is our lead conversion partner. But the best possible scenario is actually when we have the smallest percentage of business being done by the team leader and the majority of it coming from an inside sales department to the field agents or the sales agents. And it's really important because once you get all these systems and you've evolved it up, even if you lost all the field agents, you would have the ISA providing opportunities. It would be easier for you to recruit, easier for you to rebuild. The brand would still be strong within the community. So it's much less risky for you to own a team like that or run a team like that. And it's much less risky for you to purchase one. So obviously, and it's more profitable, just to put out there for everybody. Team environment, other key part. I'm going to just see what else we had here. Obviously, 95%, it's estimated from Harvard, of our success or failure, both, is determined by the people that we habitually associate with. And I mean, you see it with teams, like some teams are hubs of like excellent mindset or health, or they support each other in multiple ways to keep themselves on their game. And they're very, very positive. Like the teams I work with who do 300 deals, 400 deals, 500 deals, like their culture is so solution oriented. Like it's so opportunity oriented. They're all about that positive mindset and supporting each other. And when people come into those environments who don't fit, like they either come into it or they get pushed out because they're creating an environment that creates their results. So really,
it creates an energy that everybody builds off of.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It does. And I mean, we're going to be most like the people around the most. In real estate, you're around those people a lot if you're on a team. Setting goals, essential, obviously, for team building. Skill set, we spend a phenomenal amount of time, onboarding new recruits onto a team, teaching team leaders how to onboard. It's massive. It's probably your biggest profit eater not doing it. So the lack of sales systems and how to actually communicate and get predictable results is one of the biggest ways that teams are losing money and that team members are making lower income than they should. But it's the most, ironically, all this sales training, it's the most invisible one because often we see it, but it's kind of like, well, they know what they're doing. They've been in the business, or I don't know, I'm putting them on the phones. It should be fine. Because if we have a little bit of a taste of success, we don't realize that, we should actually be getting 7 times that. And we don't know. So we just keep doing what we're doing because you don't know what you don't know. So that's one of our biggest profit eaters is the skill set. So education is a progressive discovery of our own ignorance, which basically means the more we learn, the more we realize that we never knew. And we kind of go, how did I never know that? Like, how's it possible? I walked around my whole life and just didn't know that. But in this world, we know how vast, right, information and solutions are. And in teams, it can be that we're in our own hub and we're not quite connected with it. So yeah, we'll end off and then I'll see, I know we're supposed to be an hour, Danny, but end off leverage for us, our definition and leverage is the backbone of team, is the use of tools and resources to do more with less effort. It saves time and money without sacrificing standards of service. So our system, our model, we believe that we're actually elevating the standard of service. We're not okay with leveraging and scaling and having that standard go down. That's not our model of team. It's exactly the opposite.
There's a question. Somebody says, and Tim says, thank you, he has to run. There's another question that says, how many deals would you suggest an agent be at before they jump from agent to assistant to the agent, assistant, field agent? So say a person already has an admin, how many deals do you think they should be doing per year or per month before they're like, okay, I need a buyer agent?
Well, that's going to depend more on their IP and their lead sources. So if you're like, we've had many teams expand where, the team leader has like 80% of their business is repeat referral, and they love that. And they're doing, 20% from, let's say, online lead generation. Now we have their admin in place. We have the backbone. We have the systems where we can efficiently put buyers and sellers through and have that value for our agents. If that's the case and that team leader either knows the systems to convert online business or they're investing in coaching to get those results, like again, when we talk about these team numbers, like some of our teams have inside sales departments where 300 deals last year just came from that department, who I work with personally to build them. Now they've got like 6 or 8 ISAs within that department. So why I'm giving you this example, they've got the IP. They know exactly how to convert those leads. They know exactly the conversion they should be at every single step of the way. And they know there's going to be bad weeks and good weeks, but they know the averages. So they have the full power to be able to duplicate. So if you have the systems and tools and you know the baseline of what should the conversion be every step of the way, you have all the power that you need, because you can train and perfect to get somebody to that same place of strength. Once you know where the goal is, you know somebody doing, or you're investing in, somebody who's going to help you, you can model excellence. So my answer would be, when you understand those things, you can invest in online lead sources and you can turn that dial up when you recruit. But very important, you'd also want to give that recruit some warm business. So if I was in that position where I was doing a ton of repeat referral, a little bit of online, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm at, I don't know, 25, 30 deals is a good place to say, hey, I'm at 25, 30 deals. I've got the admin in place. I'm going to bring in this new recruit. Give them a bit of warm business. You want to give them a little bit, at least in our model, our compensation is set up for that, and then thoroughly train them before you ever let them touch the lead. I know it sounds backwards, but I promise you, your return will be 10 times better. The minute you get somebody on the phone with those leads and they do it in their own way and they get a groove, the worst thing that could happen is they're successful right away, because they get a taste of it and they're like, well, but I got a deal and I was successful. I don't need to learn those scripts. I don't need to learn those processes. Those system scripts and processes are your guaranteed return. That's your formula for success. So the best thing you could do is train it first. So around 25 to 30 deals, if you have a source you can dial up or dial down for lead generation. If you don't, you might need to connect with us or somebody else for a strategy call, and we can help you get there, but it's a more complicated answer.
You can also look at it not at a number wise, because a lot of people get hung up on a number. I think as soon as you find yourself cherry picking the easy stuff, that's when you should probably get a buyer agent. Because if you're not truly digging deep and following up with your internet leads that were 8 months, 9 months, 10 months ago, then you could hire somebody just to start working the old stuff. So as soon as you or a team member is cherry picking the cream of the crop, it's probably time that you could actually leverage and get another.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just realizing there's a typo in what I put on the screen. That's a great representation. I tried to fix it quickly last night. But yeah, if you're dropping any leads, you should be referring them out, or you should be bringing, if you have enough, bringing somebody in-house. I agree completely.
I have a question for you. My number used to be about 50. So I would try and give a buyer agent 50 leads a month. And the reason for that was because they got 50 this month. Next month, they get another 50, which is 100. And then the month after that, another 50, which is now 150. 6 months later, they have so many leads. So I like giving people their 50 leads a month. Do you have a magic number?
It depends on the mix. Like some of the teams we work with have much warmer, lead nurturing funnels. Basically, I hate using it, but my brain works in that language. I'm a systems person.
Yeah, mine were cold internet leads.
You'll have to let me apologize for it. My mind just goes there. But if you're doing something to warm up leads, like some people do videos, some people are sending very specialized emails and videos to their sellers. So they've got these people tagged where they're hearing from them much more and they're getting much higher quality content. When you have leads like that, it might be 30 leads per month. It might be 25. It might even be less, right? But if it's online, like you're purchasing, 50 is usually our rule of thumb, because by the time you take scrap rate, like I really want them to have 30 usable. And even at 50, they probably have 25, right? with most of the sources, not all. And I'm not saying Facebook buyer leads. I'm just really careful about that. Like Facebook buyer leads is not going to be your same conversion as a pay-per-click buyer lead base. There's pros and cons to both, but I'm just to be clear, I'm talking about more like a pay-per-click platform.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so that was awesome. You know what? Thank you so much. Despite the typo, which I don't even see yet, so don't worry about that.
August.
You do have a yearly event. So this video is being recorded today. There could be a chance that a person watches this video next year and they're going to be like, oh man, I missed the event. Well, don't worry, because she does this every year. And you have 2 events every year. Plus you have monthly things going on. You have one-on-one coaching that you do. So there's a ton of different ways. Now, the big one here is the Ultimate Team Summit, because this is where you have teams from all over North America that are doing 100 plus deals a year, and they basically mastermind and learn from one another. And that's what we're looking at on the screen, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest one, where people bring their whole team and they all go to different sessions customized to their positions. So that's pretty cool. It's like a retreat.
Oh, I didn't know that you break it down into like, so there's an admin section and then team leader and buyer agent. It's broken down like that?
Yeah, I actually create a recommended agenda. So if you're an admin, you get one. So some of the keynotes, everyone's together, and then breakout sessions, they'll be recommended based on their role. And so will inside sales, so will field agents, individual agents, and then team leaders. So it's really cool. And team managers and direct operations go with team leaders, and they all get their own mastermind sessions. It's awesome. It's totally specialized. So it's a big undertaking, but it's an amazing event for sure.
I didn't know that. So there's a question from somebody from another part of the country. So they wouldn't be able to just easily make it to you. They're asking, is it live streamed or recorded or membership, anything? Is there a way for somebody to get involved besides physically flying?
Well, I mean, we do strategy calls every day. I still do them all myself for 100 Deal Plus teams. Some of the other ones, if you request me, I can do it as well. But I'd highly recommend like coming to this event. It's 2.5. Some years I do it 3 full days. Some years it's 2.5 days. It's equivalent to 2 years of coaching. Like if you're really serious about building a team, I would highly recommend, if you can, get on a plane and come to the event. It's going to pay you back for like 10 years from now if you're building, because you're going to be amongst people who have done it. And even my own clients that I coach with, like we'll be working on something for 6 months, and then they'll go to Team Summit. They'll talk to other team leaders. They'll talk to other teams. They're like, okay, wow, I see it. It's working. They get back. I'm like, I want to get this done. Like we have people come on their own. The next year they bring their entire team because they go back so excited, and then the team doesn't really get what they're talking about. So like I need to bring everybody. So I have buy-in. So if you really can't go, I'd look at coaching. But I'd say when it comes to a real estate team and the returns and the profits, like you need to immerse yourself. Anything I've ever had success with my business, I've invested, I've immersed myself, like I've showed up. So that's just being honest. But if you can't, just reach out. We'll do a strategy call and see what we can do to help for sure.
That's cool. And for anybody who's never been to Niagara Falls, it could be your chance to check that off your bucket list, because Niagara Falls is amazing. The Canadian side anyways has a very amazing view. And then the US side is a whole other experience. So you can try both out. And Niagara Falls is a really cool place to hang out if you've never been. Yeah. Awesome. So we're going to wrap up. Can you say that email again? And Shihab's going to write it down. We're going to include it in the notes. That way people can follow up with you in case maybe they don't have an interest in this event, but they want to go deeper on something else. So what's your email?
It's admin, ADMIN, at KathleenSpeaks.com. And so you can reach us for a strategy session, inquire about our events, and for Ultimate Team Summit, the promo code's on the screen early, and we'll use that other years. If you're early enough before November, you'll get an extra $100 off the ticket price. Perfect. Thank you so much. And I have a suggestion for you. I have a session that I want to be doing with Aurea Emerge. And it's basically, the concept is this: people go to these conferences, they write note pages and note pages of all these great ideas and whatever. Then the Monday after the conference, it's almost like they're paralyzed with where to start and where to begin. I'm creating a whole session for after conferences, people join me and we do this goal setting exercise where we break down all the ideas, identify the key ones, and then implement an action plan for the next month to actually take action on it. So I want to offer that to your summit for afterwards. It could be done as like a webinar for them or something. Oh, cool. I'd love that. That would be great. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Danny. This has been fun. And thank you, everybody who's joined us. It's been a pleasure. Awesome. Okay. I'll end the recording and say thank everybody. Bye.
Hey, if you want to close more real estate transactions, get more buyer leads, and get more seller leads, click this button right here. It'll take you to our real estate group coaching page. Also, if you like this video and want more, you can subscribe by pressing this, or you can check out some of my past videos here. Enjoy!